So this week was another fun episode of Fate Apocrypha. I really enjoyed this episode, and especially with the Frankenstein Berserker stuff against Shiro. And just seeing that fight, because it was such an interesting fight, especially when you look at Shiro and his just sheer number of abilities, even with the Noble Phantasms, but especially when you get to see Frankenstein's mentality, because of course you know Frankenstein is this beast, ridiculed, hated, because of what he was, or in this case, she was. And I really like it how this is kind of like playing into her mentality when I think it was Shakespeare, if I'm not mistaken, was the servant, where he essentially makes her relive her worst nightmare, and essentially it almost gets her killed because she's thinking of her past, and it's not until she snaps out of it and kills the machine that was about to kill her that she's able to break free. But you see such a really good amount of just torment and just torture in her mind, and I actually really like it when you see, because it might have just been my subtitles, but the subtitles I was using, when you're in her kind of like flashback mentality, they changed the font to be a very creepy font to kind of like match the torment that was going on inside her head. And I thought it was a very nice touch to do for the subtitles there, which I haven't seen done really with anime in quite a while. It's really a fan-subber touch that I usually see that on, but I really enjoyed that. But at the core, it was just interesting not only seeing the fight, how different their abilities was, but also just how powerful they were. But I really liked the flashback and how it kind of like played into this battle and how it almost got her killed, and if it wasn't for her master using a command seal. In Fate Apocrypha, have we seen a master use a command seal at this point yet? I don't remember one, but it could have happened and I'm just drawing a blank. But I like seeing how the only way to calm down Frankenstein Berserker was to use a command seal and get her head back in the game so she can continue on with her fight. That was always interesting. I always like seeing how masters will use command seals over their servants, to how either they're going to use it for a selfish reason or they're going to use it for something that's actually needed, which in this case it absolutely was. But also the Sig stuff of this episode I really enjoyed. Even though Sig hasn't been a prominent figure in the past couple of episodes, I did like what he's doing in his mentality of, even though a homunculus may have a short lifestyle, it doesn't mean you should be forced into a war that you don't want to serve. You should live your short life how you want to live it, which is something I quite like, and I think it makes him a respectable character. And it's going to be interesting seeing how the anime is going to use him going forward, because there has been some changes here or there, but I've been enjoying it nonetheless. But Fate Apocrypha, this was a fun episode. I mean, you're still seeing just how damn powerful Ruler is, even with all the shit that's being thrown her way, things that should kill her, she's able to stop it because she's the overseer of the Holy Grail War. She is the command seals for these servants at the end of the day, and I really enjoyed just how much they're trying to like stop her and things like that, the different factions, and how she's able to like just stop these attacks. Even if she's chained up, she can get around it, because she's not on either side. She's not fighting for the Holy Grail. She is literally just the overseer trying to figure out what the hell is going on and make sure no sort of cheating and whatnot happens, and that's always fun. But this was a fun episode. Like, I think you're seeing so many different sides. You're seeing the other Berserker and just how goddamn insane he is, and how even when he's brought down by this insane noble, I think it was a Noble Phantasm when the arrows were coming up, I believe that was her Noble Phantasm, and how he's able to regenerate and things like that. Absolutely insane just how strong some of these servants are, and also just like the battles themselves. Like, we have so many going on at the same time, but not one feels, I think, more interesting than the other, because they each have their own kind of flair and their own charm to it, and it makes me just have fun non-stop. But I definitely think the Berserker, the Frankenstein stuff was my favorite content within this episode, because they used a flashback with the actual battle. And I always like it how like the past of these heroes can basically kind of like come into play into these fights here, and sometimes it can even weaken them, like in the case of Frankenstein, and I really enjoyed that. But I think Fate Apocrypha has been doing a good job. Like, there definitely was a lot of art issues within this episode. You notice a lot more facial animation dips here and there, but it wasn't anything that major here. I actually really still enjoyed the presentation overall, and I had a fun time with this. I think this battle is doing everything that I really personally want it to do. Like, I'm not really feeling like I'm missing out on one aspect here. I feel like just at the core, A1's doing a solid job. Is this the perfect 100% adaptation that nothing is wrong with it? Not really, but I feel like for me personally, it's really nitpicking, and like, even though there has been some production issues here or there, it's nothing really that ruins my enjoyment, and nothing that I don't see the DVDs or Blu-rays touching up when they do get released. I'm really excited though with next week's episode, because if you do watch after the credits, you see that Sig is challenging Mordred to a fight, and that's going to be pretty fun here. I'm a little fuzzy on the details with this fight here. It's going to be pretty fun just to see how everything kind of goes down with next week's episode. But at the core, Fate Apocrypha has been doing good. Like, I mean, it definitely feels like it had a bumpy start in the earlier episodes, but I feel like they're getting into the swing of things, really showing that these characters are more than just going to be fodder to just be killed off. They do have backstories, and even though cases like, say, Frankenstein, everyone pretty much knows the lore of Frankenstein, things like that, it's still fun to see it implemented in a Fate Apocrypha, and I really enjoy just the master and servant relationships overall. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think of this episode overall, and what was your favorite moment? Let me know, and before you leave, smack that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.